to say he should do to say
That's
he's done it all.
He won that championship.
Everything.
That was it.
You can do that.
Everything. He's done everything. He's scored a lot of assists.
The only thing that can cap off his career is becoming Mr. Basketball.
So why is it that when I watch Juwan Odom, did I feel like he's the best player? Every time I watch Juwan Odom play, I feel like I'm seeing something special. Like I'm seeing something that I'm not gonna maybe not see again. I said that for a long time. BJ Boston was my favorite high school player in Georgia. I don't get that feeling that I'm seeing something I'll never see again. Now we official, coach. Now we official, man. Hey, we are back in the building. Love the Game podcast. We out here. We got the coach, the man, the myth, the legend, Life University's own Kevin Easley in the building with us. Coach, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me. I'm glad to be here.
Hey, man, I'm trying to get myself up to podcast at the pace that y'all play at. I got the green tea over here trying to get me right, coach. I'm trying to be right. I'm trying to be ready, man.
Man, look, it takes a lot of Celsius. I probably should own stock in Celsius, as many of those I drink a day to get going. But get ready to go to practice. Some days I'm not feeling it. I have to rush in and take me a Celsius real quick to the head and then get out there and get ready to go. Gotta be fast 40, man. You know what I mean? If I'm gonna preach it, I gotta live it too.
For sure. And you guys definitely live up to that name on the floor. We'll get to that. Everything fast 40 at Life. I was able to catch our game this weekend. It was fantastic. You guys put on a heck of a performance. I know coaches are never completely happy with how teams play, but a heck of a performance. I can't wait to tell everybody about it. We're going to get into it. But Coach, we got you on here. I wanted to make sure that we gave you the proper introduction to everybody. You've been on before, but for those that may not have seen the episode we had you on before, Coach, been at Life University, holding it down. We always got to support Georgia. You've recruited Georgia, so we need to make sure we introduce you properly, man. Coach, let's start here, man. I love to ask this question to coaches. Tell me about some of the teams that you love to watch growing up as a kid, man. Like, what are some of your earliest memories of college basketball and some of the teams you like to watch?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was a big Rick Pitino fan growing up. Ironically, I love Kentucky basketball and Tennessee football, which is really, really strange from where I come from. But, the unique part about it was, having an opportunity to recognize a guy like Tony Delk, who's a West Tennessee guy like myself. So growing up, watching him play with Kentucky, play with Rick Pitino, I went to the camp. So loved the way they shot the three, loved how they pressed. Just love their style of play. So growing up, like that was the team I watched. I'll be honest with you, I've never truly been a big NBA fan. I watch a lot of NBA right now. The Celtics, I know Joe Mazzulla really well, elite coach. Got friends that coach at different places, former player coaching for the Nets now, and another kind of guy that mentored me is coaching with the Cavaliers right now. So having an opportunity to watch those guys and when I have free time, a lot of times I'm watching, to be completely honest, now I'm watching NAIA basketball more than Division I, which is, I've been a Division I guy before I took this job. But, now my interests are, looking to see who we need to beat, who we need to emulate, things like that are really important, in the grand scheme of things. If we're going to take our basketball club to the elite level. Got to watch all the NAI games as much as I can. So, teams I like to really watch now. I do like to watch the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, I talked about the Celtics. That's a team that I really, really enjoy watching. They do some really good things offensively. The Lakers, I kind of like what they're doing now. I'm a LeBron fan. I know everybody got the Jordan, LeBron, things of that nature. But, I do like LeBron, so I kind of follow him. Wherever he goes, I kind of go. My fanship goes where he goes. So
I got to tell you, as a LeBron fan myself, this Lakers journey was the hardest one.
Yes, absolutely. It's been like this.
Yeah. Yes. So, it took me a minute. Like, when LeBron first went to LA, it was like, I don't know that I can do this. I wasn't a
Lakers fans guy. Are crazy anyway. Right.
And I wasn't a Lakers guy, man. So it was hard for me to make that jump. I eventually made it over before the ring came, but I did make it over. But that was the hardest jump.
It was the hardest jump because, I'm sorry, Kadro, but Lakers fans are very similar to the Cowboys fans, right? So you love to hate those, you know what I mean? So it's like, man, we're joining the dark side. I felt you when you said that. We're joining the dark side. So we had to be open up to men okay, not just LeBron get you a triple-double. All right, y'all need to win. What are we doing? Who are we signing? Who are we trading? Those kind of things that I know you went through as well.
100%, man. Cleveland was easy. They were the underdog. I love a good underdog. Cleveland was easy. Miami got a little, but I went. It was such a big deal. I wanted to see it. But then the Lakers, I was like, bro, y'all really gonna make me do this? But it was cool. We made it. Hey man, you brought up some of my past nightmares with Tony Delk on the Kentucky team. That 96 Kentucky team gives me nightmares. It's crazy. I saw Tony. I was able to work one of his events. He had a combine. He's coaching and training right here in Atlanta now, right in Marietta. So it's really crazy. And I was telling my son, it was like, you grow up as a fan hating someone, and then you find out he's just a terrific guy. Right. He's just a great dude, man. Yeah. So getting a chance to meet Tony Delk, but I hated him because he killed us. He came every time they came to town, he killed us. I couldn't wait for him to leave school. Please, get out of Kentucky. Give Louisville a break, man.
Yeah, it seemed like he was there forever. Wayne Turner, Ron Mercer, Mark Pope, Scott Padgett. I could go on. That's how much I knew about it. Jeff Shepard. That's how much I love that team. And I went to watch a few of their games, and I went to camp, like I said, up there, and got a chance to meet those guys when I went to camp when I was in high school. But so a really, really fun team to watch. I think that really shaped my basketball philosophy, so to speak. I always felt like I wanted to play in a system like that. The system I played in college wasn't like that. But I always, wanted to play fast, and I was a three-point shooter in high school and college at Austin P where I played. That was what I did. And for me, it was, I would have fit right in with today's game where you shoot a lot of threes and you get back and play defense,
Yeah. Let's talk about that, Coach. Is there any shooting contests? Are you entering any shooting contests in your gym nowadays, man? Are the kids able to outshoot you yet?
No, they outshoot me. I have two assistant coaches right now that can really, really shoot it. So I don't want to smoke with them. I usually want to smoke all the time. I'm almost going to talk a lot of trash. And what I do is I talk a lot of trash, but I never play it. You know what I mean? So, I have my middle son. He's up there every day with homeschool, and he wants to play me, and he's been beating me for the last couple of years. So I won't even play him anymore. So the shooting games for me, we may do a free throw contest or horse or something like that. I'll joke around with the guys, and we may shoot best of three, and I'll find a way to cheat and get an extra letter or something like that. But those guys, I recruit shooting, and majority of the time, if that's a skill that I'm really looking at, then they're probably going to be able to outshoot me because they're getting more reps than me every day.
one of the best shooting teams that I've seen in the state of Georgia. Definitely the Life University Running Eagles for sure. And that's been the past few seasons, actually. You guys have been able to shoot it really well consistently. What was it about that? Was it easier for you to adopt that philosophy more so because of the teams that you idolized growing up, or was it just more so easier to do because that was who you were as a player?
Well, the first couple of teams, I resonated obviously with the 3-point shooting, but I became an analytics guy a little bit more than I have been in the past, and I understand that threes are a very high percentage shot, corner threes and kick out threes. Those are things that we covet in our offense. Obviously, love to get twos. We don't shoot very many mid-range jump shots. That's no secret. I don't mind saying that out loud. That's not something that we really look to do. But realizing we've changed our system over the last couple of years. So this going into year 3 with our fast 40 system, as we call it. I had really, really talented players throughout. But we would get in the half court set. We were super athletic. We could switch 1 through 5. Could be really versatile, defensively and do things like that. But we didn't necessarily shoot the ball well as a team. I may have had 1 or 2 shooters. Well, in order to play the system, you have to be able to stretch the floor. You have to have, dynamic shooters as well as guys that can put it on the floor and make plays. So we went to really looking at dribble, pass, shoot more than, athleticism. One of my good friends, he used to tell me all the time, it's like, man, you got to understand, this isn't a track meet. Basketball isn't a track meet. It's not a high jump or a long jump competition. You got to be skilled. Skill kills. And I took that to heart. We came off a really bad season 2 years ago around the COVID time. I think we may have won 9 games. And, I knew things had to change. We had to adapt because I couldn't necessarily at Life, we have to recruit a certain type of kid academically and things like that could survive our school. So I really had to do some soul searching and took some time to really, look in the mirror and say, who do you want to be? What team? What do you want your team to look like? Who do you want to be? And was able to come up with some of those answers, and had some terrific assistants that were able to go out and find players, and through the connections that I've made over the course of years. We were fortunate to land some really talented players over the last 3 years that fit our system. And fortunately, we've had some really good success throughout that.
I would say so. I mean, you go from, as you mentioned, that 9-win season right after COVID to you go from 9 wins to 20 wins the very next season. And we had some conversations back then. I didn't realize that until you just said it, but we had some conversations about how your team was started to be constructed differently as well. And it was like, okay, hey, we see some more, high school kids coming in here, and like you saw how the team was constructed. Talk to us about that, like that jump from 9 wins to 20 wins and how you constructed those teams.
Yeah. So after that year, we had brought in a couple of Division I transfers, and it didn't work out with some of them. And that 9-win year, we had one that was an all-conference player that turned out to be really, really fantastic. But after that, I said, you know what? I'm going to get the players that want to be good, that come in and they I won't say tainted, that's not the right word, but they haven't played at multiple schools and they haven't learned different philosophies, that we could come in and teach them from the ground up, and they'll be like sponges, right? So that following year, after the 9-win season, we started 3 freshmen, a sophomore, and a junior. Like, those were our starters. We were the youngest team in the country. We brought 2 other freshmen off the bench. So I'd say we were going to win, lose, or draw with these guys. And, at that particular time, the transfer portal wasn't as prevalent as it is now. So I'm thinking we're going to ride with these guys for 4 years. And, in the year 2, 3, we'll have some success and we'll start to really be able to build something. Was fortunate to bring most of those guys back. The second year, we won 21 games. It was probably the last team out, should have been in the tournament. It's another story for another day. And then we lost those guys. And wanting to go get Georgia high school kids, which they were Georgia high school, those 3 kids that I lost were Georgia high school kids. I knew to be able to sustain a success that we have had, I couldn't go back to the freshmen. Does that make sense? Because we needed to continue the continuity and all the things that we had from a winning standpoint. We needed to go out and bring in some guys that filled those voids that were older. That not necessarily saying we brought in 2 Georgia high school kids this year as well. Like that's something we want to do and stay in Georgia. We want to be around Georgia as much as possible. But I brought some older guys in, and we felt like those guys they fit our culture, they fit the academic profile that we were looking for, the character piece. And with that being said, it led us to where we are right now. Trying to navigate our way through what's going to be a gauntlet of a schedule for us.
Well, I would say, I mean, even though you brought in some older guys, it still brought in a Georgia kid, a heck of a player, Tyreek Johnson coming in, and what he's been able to do for you this season from Woodstock. I do want to talk about that. We'll get into this makeup of this year's team a little bit later in the show, but I do want to talk about that, like your commitment to recruiting Georgia. Like I'm looking down your roster. Chase Robinson's on this roster that played at Buford. Tyreek Johnson, as we remember, Dara's on this roster, Georgia kid. DeAndre Cohen, Grayson, Will, one of my guys out of Milledgeville. You still been able to keep that commitment to Georgia, even when it was tough, even like this year when you had some guys to replace. What have you seen with Georgia high school basketball that makes you comfortable with bringing those guys into your program?
It's really tough because you want to recruit every kid, and there's so many kids out there, and we have a different type of recruiting philosophy and strategy. The kids like that we want are Division I caliber type of kids, right? You have to have those type of kids to be successful at this level. That's no secret. Those kids don't want to hear from Life University. What is it, November? They don't really want to hear from us during that time. Does that make sense? So if we go out, it's not like we have an unlimited budget where we could go across the country and, we do slip into some high school, should go to more practices probably, but we slip into some high school games and have relationships with high school coaches that tell us, hey, I got one for you. Instead of spending a lot of time recruiting those guys throughout the whole entire year, we wait because right now you're in a situation where you could lose anyone. So if I go and recruit all these kids early, sign 4 high school kids that are great, and then I lose 3 transfers, now I'm the youngest team again. And nowadays you don't want to be the youngest team. We were very fortunate to win 20 with the youngest team in the country. We don't want to be the youngest team again, right? So that being said, we have to kind of wait a little bit late. And sometimes some of those good kids are gone, like they've already been taken off the board. I have a lot of contacts because I've coached in North Carolina. I've coached a lot of different places. But it's really hard for us to go out of state when there's so many kids here that fit exactly what we're looking for. I feel like if we have to go out of state for a kid, then he needs to be a mid-major plus type kid that's a can't miss kid that we have to take, So that's kind of, some of the part of the philosophy that we have. Georgia is an unbelievable, landscape for kids, like for really good basketball players on the men's side and the women's side. That's for us, the contacts that we have made and is going to help us in the long run. But what we try to do is we can build those relationships with these kids now as we see them. If I have camps and get a chance, my son is an 8th grader, so I'm getting a chance to know some of those younger kids and kids a little bit ahead of him. If they end up going to a Georgia State or somewhere like that, or they want to come back, we'll welcome them with open arms. We can build that relationship so we can get them sometimes on the back end.
So many guys that absolutely need that. And I don't think parents understand either that, guys are moving all over the place nowadays. And you're seeing situations where things don't work out. And depending on how many credits you have, your situation may not work out and you can't go to a JUCO. So you may need a safe place where you can come mend your wounds, rebound, be in a place where home is comfortable, but also play in a style that I think is very player friendly if you're a skilled basketball player, right?
Correct.
If you want to put your talent on display, if you're a skilled basketball player that can dribble, pass, and shoot, I don't think there's many more offenses better than what you guys offer. So in my opinion, for a lot of those guys that are bouncing around, a lot of parents who may have a kid that's bouncing on you that may be looking to move or let's just be honest. Nowadays, the transfer portal is full of guys that have been told, right? And I'm looking at the Division I transfer portal where there are over 1,000 guys, maybe 1,500 guys that were left in the portal, right? Those are players that were probably told, we don't have a spot for you anymore.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you were a Georgia player that was recruited by Life, that may be a spot where you want to circle back and say, because that's the landscape of college basketball now. It's not like NAI is a last resort. We see NAIs regularly every single year that you and I have known each other. NAIs are beating Division I teams, right? It happens every year. I believe it just happened tonight. I saw on Twitter that another NAI beat Division I tonight. Yeah. So it happens all the time. So the talent is at this level, and we see guys go up from NAI. We have guys go up and go high major from NAI. So we talk about fit all the time. And if you're a skilled player, again, this could be a place where you fit. I'm looking at some of your statistics from last season in conference. Second in the conference in points, second in the conference in points per game, field goal percentage, you were second in threes made third in threes made per game. Like, you guys are offensively off the charts, right? So if you're a kid looking to really put that talent on spike. Now, I didn't want to skip over this because this was the most important stat to me that I saw on your team. First in assist, number one in assist in your league, right? That tells me, like, you understand how to put guys in position to be successful, and you have a team that's unselfish and willing to allow guys to get off and do what they need to do. How do you sell guys? It's one thing for me to look at these stats, right, and say, man, this is terrific. It's another thing to build it and say that we're going to get here, because every kid says that they're bought in until it's time to get on the floor and buy in.
Correct.
How do you, you're over 15 assists a game on average, according to your conference stats. Like, how do you get guys to understand and really buy into that being a product of success?
It's something, that we preach and we practice. Even we'll go a little step further. Like, the last game, we had 5 assists at halftime, and we finished, I think, with 15 or 16. So that's the mark that we try to hit. We've had some 20 games, 21 assists and things of that nature. But I think if you share it, you can get it back. And I think guys start to really, the way we play, like, they embrace being the one that can, see the second side of the floor and make a play. Like, they're starting to embrace that because, you got someone that makes a fantastic pass, and now this person makes an extra pass. And, we chart those, we call those domino possessions. We try to see every possession that we play. We want to have a possession of the, famous one more, as people call them. We want those possessions every time down the floor. Now, obviously, we don't get them, but we're looking for shots, in range, open, and on balance. We have a shot. It all comes down to shot selection. We have a shot matrix that we have where everybody knows what type of shot is a good shot, what type of shot is not a good shot. So they understand that. And I think, for us with the field goals percentage thing, And it's been that way the last couple of years. We've been number 2 in field goal percentage. It's taking high quality, high value shots. And in years past, I would have friends, some of my coaching friends, Division I friends would watch my games and they'll call me. It's like, man, what are you doing? Like, you got guys that are shooting 24-second shot clock, shooting step backs. Like, you can't win like that. And at the time when you're in it, you're thinking, because you have so much trust in that player, it doesn't really matter, because like even some pros don't make those all the time. That's not a high value shot. So, honing in and being able to find a shot spectrum that works for your team and works for your system, that's been the deciding factor, because it's, you talk about, get a great shot, not a good shot, those kind of things. And everybody kind of, if they play their role, you're going to be able to get shots.
Better believe it. And you got shot makers, not just shot.
You got to have those. You have to have those.
So I do want to get into let's get into this roster a little bit, and I'll start from last weekend's game. You guys faced off against a Voorhees University team that had a lot of fight. And we're talking about, a game that you go into halftime down 3.
4. Actually, it was 4.
4.
I won't forget. Yeah, I won't forget that. I think it was 4. Yep.
Down 4 at halftime, and I'm having conversations saying, "Wow, these are shots that you guys normally make, right?" And hey, maybe the threes are a little deep for some other team, but I know the guys that on your team that were taking those shots, those are normally money shots. So what are you saying to the guys at that point? Now, mind you, you were still shooting 57% from 2, so not a bad field goal percentage, though you were down 4, but just 18%. From 3 and 45% from the free throw line. What are you talking to those guys about at halftime? Did you even address the offense, or what was it at halftime that you had to say?
After the game, so many people came to me and said, "Man, you must have lit into them. What did you say to them?" And I said nothing. And I won't say nothing, but I didn't light into them. I have a lot of confidence in our players. You don't recruit players you don't have confidence in. It doesn't make sense. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to trust them, and they have to know that you trust them. So I basically told them, "Hey guys, like, we haven't really played. It's our first time really playing together. All the little things that we were doing in practice and things like that, like, we're not doing those things now. We're not contesting every shot. We're not boxing out. We gave up too many offensive rebounds in the first half. The shots are going to fall. I'm not concerned about that. But we only have 5 assists, which means it's a lot of one-on-one. We're not sharing the ball. We're not moving the ball. It's like we were one of the top teams in the country and the league the last 2 years in assists. And the reason why we did it is because we shared the ball. That made it so much easier and got us easier shots. I was like, just get back to that. Come out with a little bit more intensity. Hats off to Coach Voorhees. He had a really, really good game plan early on. We were able to make some adjustments at halftime. But we had to do a few things so I could get their attention. But it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was schematically. I just felt like they know, like, they can take those shots within reason. If that's your role and you're a shooter, I think we have a kid that's one of the best shooters in the country. And sometimes he takes some wild ones, but I know if he makes one, he may make one from the volleyball line. And I live with that if he shoots one of those after he's made a couple. But he has to understand that his coach believes in him. And I tell him every day, you're the best shooter in the country. Like, I tell him every day. And I truly believe that. And if you instill that type of confidence in guys, they're going out there and they're playing free and they're not looking over their shoulders. And, and I give them all freedom in their role, right? Yep. If you're a really good 3-point shooter, if you're open, take it. If you're a really good driver, if you're not a good 3-point shooter, you're not gonna be able to get the green light to shoot threes. It is what it is. Like, I'm not going to tell them, oh man, you're not making shots, like keep shooting. No, I'm going to say stop shooting if that's not your role.
Right.
So and
Right.
the guys know that, and this is a fun style to play. So going back to that game, just reiterating the little things, the details, where to set screens, and our spacing, and and they were able to respond. And you don't really know after the first game. I still don't know what kind of team I have, but you learn a little bit in those type of situations. And I did not expect to allow a team to score 41 at halftime. Was not excited about that, but only scoring 29 in the second half, holding them to 29, definitely made you feel good about the direction that you're going in.
For sure. You guys absolutely lit it up in the second half. Shot even better from 2 in the second half, 62.9%, so almost 63%. Dara is catching lobs outside the square. I mean, he's throwing stuff down, and you guys are making threes and running, and the guys are having a lot of fun. 56.3% from 3 in the second half, from 18% to 56% from 3. And then got the free throws together as well, jumped up to 85 and some change, almost 86% from the free throw line. So really righted the ship. One of the things that I was super impressed with coming out of that halftime was, to me, the defensive intensity totally changed. Of course, there were adjustments made. I saw how you guys, were handling ball screens and doing some different things, but they did an amazing job keeping the ball on the outer thirds, and they just ratcheted up the ball pressure in that game. Is that something that you guys are really known for, that offensive system that you created, but no slouch on the defensive end? Is that something that this team can also kind of hang their hat on?
Again, it goes back to looking in the mirror and finding out, who are you? Who do you want to be? I remember year 2, we went 9-0. I always talk about this. We were ranked maybe 10th or 11th in the country when, and then we lost, and then lost 9 in a row, I think, right after that or something like that. But we were one of the best in 9 games. We were like number 1 and number 2 in defense, but we couldn't score. And someone, never forget, someone says, you got to be good enough defensively to get the key stops. You got to be great offensively, and you got to be good enough to get the stops when you need to. So you don't have to be, super elite defensively. Our defensive numbers the last couple of years have been really good, and we were one of the smallest teams probably in our league. But it was, the attention to detail. We tried to recruit light size, bigger guys where we could have a little bit more length on the perimeter. More of an inside presence, and we were able to accomplish that. And just by a byproduct of getting those type of guys, that helps your defense along anyway. I mean, you had Cortez Johnson, like I said, you'll get into the roster later, but we had a guy like him who 4th in the nation in rebounding. He's probably one of the best rebounders I've ever coached. And, Dar averaged 7 a year ago. And, we had, 3 other guys that averaged 7 that we brought in. So we wanted to make sure one of the weakest areas that we had was rebounding last year. And we had to cover it up with some different defensive schemes. But this year, on paper, we should rebound the ball a little bit better, which obviously helps your transition offense.
For sure. I made a habit of calling them Johnson and Johnson during the game. Those guys really had it rolling. Cortez Johnson, super efficient game. 4 for 4 from the field, 3 for 3 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks. Like, I mean, just a warrior down low, really controlled, the paint. One thing that I loved about those guys, to me, with both Cortez Johnson and also Tyreek Johnson, was just body language. Tyreek is just like a ball of energy, man. Like, he's just going. You know what I mean? He was terrific as well. 10 for 12 from the field, 3 for 5 from three, and 23 points, and he's just going. But I never felt like I felt like all of his energy was positive. It was never too high, never too low, even in the first half where things weren't going your eyes way. What is it about those two, adding those two to your team and what they're able to bring to this year's basketball club?
So I will say Tyreek is too high all the time. He's no, he guys call him Unc. He's a veteran. He's been around the game a long time, kind of has an old man game. But coming into this season, we needed to find our Draymond Green, who could do everything. Like, he's the most versatile player, one of the most versatile players in our league. Can play inside out. He can play point guard if we need him to. He can play multiple positions, and he's talented. But his positive energy every day, like, he comes in and the energy may be low, and he's yelling and clapping, and you try to figure out early on, like, is this guy fake? Is he real? And this is who he is every single day. And unbelievable young man, had a 4.0 this past quarter. Super smart. Like, he came in with like a 3.7 or 8. Just one of those quality guys that you're really fortunate to have in your program, with his leadership and his experience has completely, it's helped build our culture. You want to bring culture builders up. And he's one of those type of guys. And, Cortez Johnson, Division I transfer, and then ended up at, one of the top junior colleges in the country, and was all league there, and ended up, didn't qualify, but he signed with Nicholls State. Knowing he's a bona fide Division I talent, and his rebounding, he doesn't have to have the ball. He's not, give me the ball. Like, really don't have anybody like that on our team, but he's a guy that, like, you throw it up, he's gonna figure out a way to get it. He's hard to box out, and he just plays with a constant motor. So you have those two. Obviously, we have tons of other guys that are super talented, but those two guys, defensively are versatile, and Cortez can guard 1 through 5. He was just named Defensive Player of the Week for our league, probably first of many, because of his versatility. Rebounding, he had 3 block shots, and his energy that he plays with.
I would agree. Had 3 blocks and a lot of chain shots as well that don't end up in the stat sheet. So he played a terrific game. I got to ask you, Coach, about Chaz Harris, the slasher. 7 for 11 from the field, went 4 for 9 from the free throw line. He had 18 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. Like, he was a triple-double threat in that basketball game. Another guy, good body language, just play hard. Like, what can you tell us about that kid?
As I continue to get to know Chase, his recruitment, he was college teammates with Tyreek Johnson, so assist and shout out to Tyreek for helping us get that one done. He averaged 19 a game, 7 rebounds and 4 assists. In my personal opinion, he's probably one of the top 5 players in all of NAIA. He's a 6'6" point guard with incredible feel. He can get to the rim. He's a better shooter than what people would give him credit for. He's worked really hard on that. But he's a guy that, like, would create mismatch problems. And, as before, we had some really good guards that we lost, but he's able to see over defenses and make plays. And, he will get a triple-double in our system this year. I got to make sure he gets on that rebound a little bit. He rebounded it well, but, he's going to get a triple-double this year. I can see it. Super talent. And honestly, probably the most competitive kid that I've had at Life. Like, he can turn it on. Funny story, we had to kind of stop, keeping score on some of our drills because of the competitive nature that he would have when it was time to lose in crunch time. He's going to guard you 94 feet. He's going to be physical. You're going to hear about it. I was like, you know what, guys, we want to get stuff done. I know you guys don't want to lose and run your sprints or whatever, but we call it the Chase Harris rule. Like, all right, this game we're not going to keep score so we can get some stuff done. But he has a different gear that he changes to, in practice, he still plays hard, he works hard, but he's ultra competitive. And then when he gets in a game, it just completely turns into somebody else. So
impossible to stay in front of. He's got a first step, and he's got that ball on a string that he was just getting paint touches pretty much at will. In that game, he's going to be fun, a lot of fun to watch over the season. Coach, now last but not least, I don't want to leave anybody out, but you mentioned having one of the best shooters in the country. I would argue that maybe you have two. Like you've got some incredible shooters between Elias and I believe his name. I had his name circled. Oh, Serge Popovich.
Yeah.
Am I saying his name correctly?
Surgeon.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So and we have a third, Ladarian Cleveland, Fat Cleveland, which I could tell you his story after I talk about those guys.
Sure.
He's a tremendous shooter as well. Surgeon, and I know he's gonna come through. He didn't shoot the ball very well the last game, but his first year, he was like 12 or 13 games. He was like, top 2 in the country in 3-point shooting.
Yeah.
He's like a wizard. Like he's from Serbia, like high basketball IQ. He can flip the ball around and really unselfish, making plays for others. And I know when his jump shot falls, he will be add a different dynamic to our team. Really good shooter. Ladarian Cleveland, before he tore his Achilles, so he hasn't played in 2 years. And he's got like a 40-inch vertical leap. He's starting to get that back, but he averaged about 14 points a game for Florida College, who was one of the top teams in the country 2 years ago before he tore his Achilles. We brought him in last year, sat him out, but he had games against Loyola. I think he may have hit like 8 threes. I mean, he is a dynamo. A kid that is not 100% healthy yet, but he's getting there. When he gets to be healthy, he'll be one of the most dynamic guards in our league. And fast forward to Elias Ramirez, he's the hardest worker I have ever coached. Like he sometimes beats me, and I get to work early. He beats me in the gym. Like today, he was in the gym, no lie, at 6:45 shooting, it's not phony, it's not fake. I rarely see him miss a day. Now I'm not up there on Saturdays and Sundays. Sometimes we have to tell him you gotta stop shooting. But if our gym is out of use, he's going somewhere else to the Y or LA Fitness. Like he's going to get up shots, and it is no secret why he is the shooter that he is. The wild shots that everybody sees, he's not just catching it off the gun and just shooting those. He's actually really practicing every shot that you could take. And it's remarkable because his footwork is really good. And he's going to be a great elite skills coach one day. Like I think he trains some kids now, and he has a really good social media following with his instruction. Watches a ton of NBA games, so like he's well versed on that. Sometimes he'll come to me with some plays, and I'm like, dude, that's the NBA. Like we can't do that. It's 2 different leagues. But I love having that dialogue with him. About some of the stuff that he sees. He's like myself. Like I'm a basketball junkie. Eat, sleep, drink basketball. And so he really, you want to bring in guys that fit you. He fits me to a T. He's the type of player that we needed, to get us over the hump last year. And his 3-point shooting is a weapon that we haven't had in the past. And we look forward to him having another big year. He had, I think, 93s last year on 39%, which is amazing. And I feel like he could have, he left about 10 more on the table for shot selection. But we're working with that with him, and I think he's going to have another really, really good year shooting the ball.
I would agree, and I'm going to get all those names correct. on the broadcast this weekend. I promise.
Okay. Look, if you need a crash course again, I can help you with those.
I am, but we're gonna write them out phonically, and I'm gonna make sure we get them correct.
Okay.
For this weekend. But incredible shooter, and that's great to know about that. To me, that is leadership more than all the rah-rah stuff that people like to do. Like you said, when it's real, when it's not fake, when you're really in that gym, that's somebody that people, other players, young players can follow, or any of the young guys trying to compete and get into the gym as much as he's in the gym.
It's and I say this with so much endurance. It's like psychotic the way he works.
Yes.
No, and I mean, and again, it's like
the best
he is
always
in the gym. He is in the office every day grabbing balls. Like, I'm getting ready to go get my lift in every morning, and we're passing right by. Hey, coach, can you open the doors? He gets the basketballs out, and he's the first guy that I've seen that like will get in the gym, will have his own workout. He'll go through his own workout, then he'll get on the gun and take some shots. Then, like today, he didn't shoot it really good in practice, and he was really hard on himself. So, he stays after practice and he's shooting, but he already shot today. So it is, I think stuff like that translates to like when you get out of college, and it translates to the real world, because you got to work hard in anything that you do. And the beauty of with Elias is he brings other guys in the gym. He's like I said, he works people out. So he like will teach guys footwork and things like that. Like he's really done a really fantastic job of pulling young guys in. I could name 3 or 4 that like, you go out there, you see him, and someone is shooting with him. And I think that's the thing that, I had to get with him last year about is like, hey man, don't get in here by yourself, pull people. And, you funny story is, Josh Ward, the kid we had last year, really good players playing Division II now. Elias came in the summer, and, Josh he worked out a bunch, and Elias came in and was shooting, and Josh had finally got there for the summer. He's on the other end, and he's just kind of like shooting around, but you can tell he's out there watching, Elias shoot. And I looked at my assistants. I'm like, watch, in a couple of days, he's going to be out there with them. And guess what? Those two were in the gym every day. Every day they were in the gym together. And they had a lot of chemistry on the floor. But like every morning, he was in the gym working out with Elias. So again, it goes back to like he heard what I said, bring guys in, and they gravitate to that stuff. Like, I have my middle son is in there, with me. He's doing homeschool, and he's basically a college basketball player. But I want him to see Elias, because when it's his turn, that he knows what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? And
for sure.
I think that's a testament to his character. That he's just a hard worker. Like he really works hard.
100%. Coach, we went and got into your team a little bit. I want to bring it back to you and your time at Life. Life is a great university with high athletic aspirations, right? There's a standard of excellence there. Talk to me about your time at the university, how it came about, what brought you to Life University, and what are your thoughts so far?
I was coaching at UT Chattanooga. We had a coaching change. My head coach took a job at UMass. I was, me and 3 other guys that were left without jobs. Fortunately, we all landed at places that we're extremely happy at right now. I got a call. I was looking for high school jobs. I mean, it was a really, really rough time during that time, like, trying to figure out what the next step was. I mean, not a lot of people know it, and I tell people, like, sometimes even I shared it with my team a couple of days ago, like we were homeless, for a couple of weeks trying to navigate through this coaching thing. Like it's really, really difficult. Yeah. And I was fortunate, to get a call by my AD and asked me if I was interested in it. And of course I was. I mean, at that particular time, I didn't have a job, and I'd heard of Life. Yep. And back when I was in high school, I would be, I never forget it. I'd be just flipping channels, and they were playing in the national championship. And then I remember the next year they were playing again. I'm like, where's like, I didn't know where they were. Thought they were in Texas, but they ended up like playing someone from Oklahoma during that game. So I just didn't understand it. But like that was my first, view on NAIA basketball. And I got my first offers from NAIA teams as well when I was in high school. So I did know a little bit about, obviously was fortunate enough to get hired. It's been a total blessing for me and my family. Had opportunities to move on and do other things, but right now, like this is home for me. I love it here. It's been great for my family. I have an unbelievable boss that I work for, who continuously winning awards for top female AD and CEO and things like that. It's like she's tremendous. So that's been great. And the athletic culture that we have, and we have about 22 sports. Rugby team is elite. They don't compete on the NAIA level. Like they're like Kentucky and Duke of rugby in the country. They put out pro Olympians every year, and our wrestling teams are really, really good. Soccer's been great. Track and field has been great. Women's soccer, who wasn't as great the last 3 or 4 years ago, got a new coach and just like hit the ground running and made it, I think, to the Final Four. And they're having a really good year this year. So, women's basketball too, Coach Tay, she just got the job last year, won 19 games, been unbelievable to work with. And it goes back to the culture. You have really, really good coaches. You get a chance to meet those coaches and they're like family. I got there was people that have been there forever. Those people have kind of gone out. I feel like I'm the elder statesman now, since I've been there forever. And it is cool. This is the longest I've ever been anywhere. Most of the time I'm usually 3 and out, 2 or 3 and out. But this is I wanted to plant my flag somewhere, where I could raise my family, and it's been tremendous for my young kids and their athletic journeys. And my wife has found some really good job opportunities her way as well. So I like life. No pun intended, but life is good, no pun intended. But so it's been really, it's been a really cool journey to see it, and I want to kind of see this through. And we've got 3 national championships, 2 national runner-ups at Life. Last runner-up was 2017, and this school is itching for another basketball championship. And I think that we're headed in the right direction. Takes a lot of luck to win a national championship. Obviously, you want to win your conference, and our conference is terrific this year. But we take it game by game, and again, like I said, I think we're headed in the right direction.
For sure. I mean, I look at last season. You guys had a phenomenal year last year, but when I look at it, it's like, gosh, man, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. Like it's hard to beat a team 3 times, and you guys had beat Loyola twice already. I mean, and one of those times really handled them the first time, and then you get them a third time, and it's a 3-point game in the tournament. Like that's people don't realize, and I feel like maybe you still should have got in, but it's like when you got to win the conference tournament to get in, like I feel like God bless the dead, Amir ran into the same thing in South Florida. It's like you have this amazing season, but they're only going to take one for your league no matter what you do. So you leave a lot of good teams and a lot of great coaches without that opportunity to coach in the tournament. You can't say this. I'll say this. Loyola, we want revenge. We want revenge.
Yeah. Yeah, they took it from us. They had a really good game plan, and that was our back-to-back. We typically last year didn't play good in back-to-backs. It's no excuses, but we just didn't play our best game that particular game. The game before that, we played Dalton and was terrific. We had to play Dalton back-to-back, which was extremely difficult. Yep. But we were able to win those games, and then now you go into the other game and you play a team that's really, really high. We were the 2 hottest teams in the tournament, and I felt like we would be on a crash course to play each other. And I was just hoping that extra game that they had played the day, 2 days before, would come into play. But they were tough and resilient, and they deserved it. And they went on and won the championship and made it to the tournament for the second year in a row.
Looking at your conference, a lot of really tough teams in this conference. You mentioned Dalton, Coach Alex Ireland at Dalton, another friend of the show. But let's talk about your conference a little bit and what it's like to play. You guys beat last year, by the way, one of the teams that I thought was one of the better teams in all of NAI. You beat Tougaloo last year, where you and I talked about how big and athletic and for people who don't understand NAIA basketball, like they had a 2-guard 6'5". They got big, like they were good. They were good. They had a couple kids on that team that I thought were as far as passing the eye test, look like high major kids.
Correct. That is correct.
So, and you guys were able to beat them. But let's talk about your league, Coach. What's been your experience coaching in Southern States?
Southern States is a tremendous league. I think it's underrated. 3 years ago, you had the national champion and the national runner-up from the same league. And, those two coaches are elite. They both moved on to different jobs. So, I was Talladega left. That job, he left. And then, Loyola's coach left. But, they're picked back up kind of right where they left off in terms of the success that they've had. But, for us to only get 2 teams in last year, out of 13 was to me, it was a crime. Stillman was really good. They finished second, and we finished like right behind them. We split and we beat every team in the league. So it was one of those things where it's RPI driven, analytics driven. And we had no control. We did lose 4 games in a row in January that kind of plagued us a little bit. And we've done some things that we think could help us scheduling wise and fatigue wise and building a roster that could help us in a stretch like that. But it's some quality teams. Don't want to leave anybody out. Mobile has been terrific. The last couple of years, they've got, preseason player of the year. Faulkner's always good. Coach Sanderson does a heck of a job. We talked about Dalton. Alex is a really good friend of mine too, and it's a rival. Before last year, I was probably 0-7 against Alex, and we beat him 3 times last season. So, that every time I play them, it's like we both talk about it's like the weirdest game. Something out of the ordinary happens, but that's a big rivalry game for us. Don't want to miscount. William Carey, they're a really good team. Thomas is bringing back a lot of players. Loyola, obviously, we talked about them. They're really good. So there are some really, really good teams in our league. Some of the upper echelon. I think anybody can win at any moment. The top 7 or 8 have a chance to win if they can put together a strong non-conference and then get some momentum going into our conference play.
For sure. Well, Coach, you talked a little bit about going back-to-backs, and you got one this weekend, a back-to-back coming up for the Ken Woods Memorial Classic. You got a 7 o'clock tip against St. Thomas University out of Florida, who their coach, if I'm not mistaken, just moved up to Coach FAMU. And then you've got Southeastern University coming in on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Let's talk a little bit about the Classic, about how that formed. It's a great event. I try to make it every year. Great event. Tell us a little bit about the Classic and how you guys formed that and got it going.
Okay, so when I first got here, we played in, we had a Classic. We'd had a couple. I always try to do one at the beginning of the year. And typically it's our first opening game, but, we didn't have a scrimmage this year. So I wanted to get a game in before the Classic. This Classic, means a lot to me. And my team, that some of them have like gone, the ones that really understand the meaning behind this Classic have graduated or moved on. But I still try to ring the name. Our Ken Woods was our character coach through Nations of Coaches. He was a dear friend. He passed away unexpectedly a few years ago, and I wanted to do something to honor his name. So we invite his wife out. We make T-shirts for this game. It's just something that it means a lot to me, and I try to invite teams that come in that are competitive teams, and teams that I know respect the cause of what we're doing, and so again, I can't speak enough about Coach Ken Woods. He was an author, a coach, a father, a mentor, a pastor. He was, and there was no one, I've not met anyone like him. He will tell you exactly how it is, but he would also have a way of making you feel like you were on top of the world when you were having a bad day. Truly miss him, but I want his name to live on through this classic.
For sure. Gosh, you can get down and watch a lot of great basketball. If I'm not mistaken, there's a game before your game on Friday.
Yes.
That
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. Can get in there. You don't want to sit in that 5 o'clock traffic anyway. Make your way down to Life University, and you can wait out the traffic and watch some fantastic basketball. Life, it's a great facility. It's a great place to play. The fans are into it. Everything looks good. It's good basketball. They're a fun team to watch, but you get to watch two games. You got 5 o'clock game, and you got Life University. You get St. Thomas at 7 p.m. And then on Saturday you come back. Now, are you guys are the first game on Saturday, right? Or no?
No, we're the second game too. So we play. There's a game at 11. So at 5 o'clock on Friday, you have Bryan College and Southeastern. Bryan is actually, as we speak, they're playing Dalton, and they're 1-0 right now. Really well coached. They've come to the Classic before. Out of Bryan, out of Tennessee, at the AAC conference. Really, really good team. You got Southeastern, who has a new coach as well. He came from a very good program, winning program. So he'll be coming in, and he's recruited very well. Had a chance to get to know him through this process. Really young coach that has a lot of spunk and looking, to try to make a name for himself early. St. Thomas, I was really good friends with Coach Crary, who's at FAM now, who's gonna kill it there. Coach Moss, me and him have become pretty good friends throughout this classic. We'll text each other every couple of weeks, and we said obviously, we'll hang out a little bit after this game and figure out, one of us will be have to have a napkin to wipe our tears, whichever loses. But he's a young coach that's a first-year coach, really, really, really good X and O guy. I have a lot of respect for him, the way he goes about his business, the way he recruits his team, and he coaches with a ton of passion. So this is not gonna, typically we haven't had I guess a quartet of teams like this. We've had a couple teams that hadn't had success, but each one of these teams come in, and this is probably the best one that we've had so far from a talent standpoint. We're going to have a DJ on Friday. It's going to be, we feel like it's going to be a packed house. The atmosphere was probably the best Saturday atmosphere that we've had since I've been there. We have a fun team to watch. And I think a lot of people, the word is starting to get out there a little bit. High school kids, if you don't have a game, come watch. I think it's great, for high school kids to see every level of basketball. You hear about the Kennesaws, the Georgia States, and the Georgia Southerns and Georgia Techs, but we play some really good basketball, at Life University. So come on down, make the trip. I promise you won't be disappointed.
So many schools right there in that area too. That when you're talking about high school kids, if you're at Willard, I'm trying to think, or at Walker or
Marietta,
like those schools are right there. So like you could get right out of practice and head right over to Life and get to watch some great basketball. And it's super value add. I will say that too for AAU directors, just really quick. guys, you're trying to pitch your kids to all of these different coaches. And if you haven't been to a game or if you haven't been to practice at that level, how do you know that your kid can play there? How do you know that that kid is the right fit when you're saying, hey, coach, I got one, right? That kid may be able to play, but he may be an absolute, like, you can't send Coach Easley a kid that can't shoot. Like, he won't, like, so I encourage the AAU guys who listen to this show. Life is it's one of the easiest schools in the world to get to, geographically, right?
Yes,
it's super easy to get to. It's not, no knock to our universities that are right downtown, but you're not paying some astronomical fee to come and park. You're not fighting all that crazy traffic to get downtown. Like, it's right in Cobb County, super easy to get to, and it's great basketball. And especially in a classic like this, you're getting to see 4 teams at this level, and you're able to kind of do some analysis and say, oh, I have a kid that's like this kid or like that kid.
Correct.
Now you can have more of an intelligent conversation with a coach to say, hey, I don't have a kid like what you have on your roster, but I have a kid that's like on this other roster. And if you like that kid, you may like my kid. You may improve your chances of placing one of your kids. I know, placement rate is still a thing for some AAU teams, maybe some more than others. I won't call any names, but make it down to a game, make it down to practice. I think this is a perfect weekend to do it because your high school season hasn't officially kicked off. So even if you got a practice going on or something like that, you could come right after practice and still be plenty of time for the game. You catch a 7 o'clock tip, easy. Coach, are we missing anything, man? You've been super gracious with your time. I know you got film and game planning and all that kind of good stuff, but
no, I appreciate you taking me away from that a little bit. Been diving in it so much, and it's the mystery of playing a team with a new coach, and you haven't seen them play, you don't know the scheme, you don't know the system. That can work for your anxiety, towards your anxiety a little bit, and
for sure.
So it is. I could be watching film and of last year's team, and they could come out and run the Princeton offense. I have no idea. So right now you try to like work on your team and get your team as good as it could be, and then you feel good enough to where you can make adjustments when they're needed. But sure. For me right now, I'm watching a lot of film on us as well, because it's a constant growing process to being great, and we're committed to excellence and trying to be the best team that we could be every single day.
Good deal. Coach, I feel like you're managing it really well. You've managed to keep the gray hairs away. Unfortunately, you gave me too many, but you've done well.
Got a few. It's the lighting in here.
All good. Well, Coach, man, it's been fantastic. We appreciate having you on. I can't wait to see the guys this weekend, man.
Thanks for having me, and I appreciate everything you do, and appreciate you giving me a platform to be able to talk about my team. I love this team. It's exciting, and I encourage everyone to come out and watch and tune in to the podcast. It's fantastic, and I just appreciate you having me on again.
For sure. Hey, man, appreciate y'all kicking it with us, man. Y'all in the house. We love the game, man. Good night.